Welcome to Inside Transportation, presented by the King County Department of Transportation in conjunction with KCTV. I'm Matt Reichmann. Thanks for joining us. Well, one of the greatest compliments to anyone providing a service is demand for more. By that measure, King County Metro's service is becoming a great alternative for a growing number of county residents. In November, King County voters approved the Transit Now initiative by a 57% positive vote, clearing the way for up to 20% more service over the next decade. In order to make the service expansion a reality, Metro has assembled its team, and now a contract is in place that will allow it to purchase up to 500 new buses in the coming years. It's King County Metro's way of putting its money where its mouth is. After voters overwhelmingly passed the Transit Now initiative in November, Metro has begun the task of delivering on its promise of expanding service by up to 20% over the next decade. And the players that will help make it happen are now in place.
The big news today is the completion of a first-of-its-kind purchasing contract that will allow Metro to buy up to 500 new buses in what is believed to be the largest bus order contract in North America. Most of the buses will be our articulated hybrid buses, which mean Metro will continue to be one of the greenest transit agencies in the nation in expanding its services county-wide.
King County Executive Ron Sims has announced the county selection of Cummins Engine Company, along with General Motors and New Flyer Industries, to deliver on the order of up to 500 articulated buses, most of which will be hybrid electric.
This is going to be the mainstream of our bus fleet in the next 10 to 15 years. And it's going to serve our population. It's going to save millions of dollars worth of fuel. And the fuel that we do use is going to not pollute the air. I'm extremely happy to be a leader in a government that has gone beyond the pilot, moved into the mainstream and showing people what can be done.
The purchase is all part of a major commitment to meet the public transportation needs of King County, but do so in an environmentally conscious way.
King County has been operating a fleet of 214 GM hybrid powered buses since 2004. And with the addition of this contract, King County could have more than 700 buses, making it the owner of the largest fleet of hybrid articulated buses in history. This fleet of more than 700 GM hybrid powered buses could save an estimated 1.1 million gallons of fuel annually. That's enough to fill 138 tanker trucks.
Mass transit works at moving people safely and reliably, but King County goes a step beyond that. They want to do it and improve the environment in which we live, and we're very pleased to be part of that initiative.
Studies show the hybrid buses Metro has been operating since 2004 cut greenhouse gas emission by 30%, and that they're also much more reliable. County leaders say they hope this will reinforce the confidence voters showed in November when they passed Transit Now.
There was a vision put forth last year in Transit Now, and the voters approved it pretty overwhelmingly, and it would not have been done if they had doubted the ability of King County to implement this program effectively under Ron Sims' leadership and also under Metro.
In addition to providing the hybrid technology for Metro's future buses, GM marked the agreement by presenting the county with another 500 combatants of greenhouse gas, ones that work in a more natural way.
To represent emission reduction and King County's purchase of up to 500 hybrid buses, I'm happy to announce that GM is going to donate 500 trees, and we have some examples by the buses today, that will be planted throughout the county this year.
The first 22 hybrids are scheduled to arrive next spring, and 100 more will be ordered in 2009. They'll help provide Metro's new bus rapid transit on 5 of the county's most congested travel corridors. The first of Metro's new coaches will arrive right on time. Ridership from April 2006 to April 2007 was up a total of 30,000 boardings, which is roughly a 9% increase. I recently sat down with Metro General Manager Kevin Desmond to talk about what's driving the boom in ridership. Kevin, first of all, thanks for joining me. Appreciate it. So we're talking about ridership, and we all know that gas prices are very high nowadays, higher than they ever have been. And how much do you think that's sort of contributing to the increase in ridership that we've seen?
Well, we think it's contributing quite a bit. It's hard to say exactly what. There's a lot of factors at play in ridership, but the increase in gas prices over the last, 2 years or so intermittently, and now we're at record high prices, certainly are having an effect on people's demand for transit service.
And some of the numbers that we've been looking at is that from April '06 to April '07, there are about 30,000 more boardings, which is about 9%. And the word you've used before is that ridership is pretty much booming. Metro has also been improving service a lot lately. Does that, in your mind, have something to do with it too?
Well, certainly a 9% increase in ridership year to year is booming. That's big. And that's been the trend we've had so far this year. We're probably up in the neighborhood of about 7% so far through the first 4 months of 2007, with the last couple of months quite high. In February, we implemented the first service improvements associated with Transit Now on 10 routes. We also added some service to overcrowded service as well. Those routes where we've added service just since February are seeing about 11% increase in ridership. So compared to about the same 7 or 8% system-wide, those routes are performing even better. So yes, the improvements in service are probably driving some of the ridership as well, as we're seeing service become more convenient for people. And that is what Transit Now is about. The more service we can put out, we match the service appropriately to where the real demand is, we're going to see more people riding transit. But it's a mixture of things, the gas prices, employment in the region, as well as the improved service.
Yeah, and you got into another thing that I was going to ask you. I mean, it seems that the job market is doing pretty well at this point, and that is also something that, I guess if people have jobs, they start riding the bus. Is that pretty much how it works?
Sure. I mean, historically, as you look at transit ridership in this region, and probably anywhere else in the United States, transit ridership is going to be driven a lot by the job market. As the job market's strong, more people are taking journey to work. If we have a good, strong system to back that up and get people from where they're starting from to where they're working, people will use transit. Who wants to sit in traffic? Traffic is terrible out there. You can get on the bus, you can relax, you can read, you can sleep, you can do some work, you can do whatever instead of being stuck behind the wheel. So absolutely, the job growth, the strong economy helps to drive the transit as well.
And of course, we tend to think of Seattle as an environmentally conscious city, and also, one of the things that may be driving the higher numbers is just that people are trying to get out of their cars and not, put as much greenhouse gas into the air.
Well, certainly, I think everyone knows that there's a lot more talk, whether it's in the general press, Al Gore's movie An Inconvenient Truth getting an Academy Award, whatever. There's a lot more talk about global warming and climate change. And to the extent that people are thinking about that, and that's influencing their choice as well to take transit. What if you took the bus? If you don't take transit today, what if you took transit to go to work one time each week? That's a 20% reduction in the vehicle miles that you travel during the course of the week, which you otherwise be commuting, and that's 20% less air pollution or carbon dioxide that goes into the atmosphere that contributes to global warming. People who are thinking about that are choosing the bus. I was talking to someone the other day who was talking to folks on the street, and somebody said, hey, I saw An Inconvenient Truth, and that was the tipping point. I'm taking transit now. I don't know how many people are doing that, but as that consciousness is raised in our community as a general matter, I think it probably does influence people's decision making.
All right. Well, Kevin, thank you very much again.
You're welcome.
Well, we head to our first break, and when we return, local high school students are refurbishing some of King County's surplus computers and dropping them off around the globe. We'll be right back. Welcome back. It's a program that goes far beyond teaching students about computers. The Global Technology Academy is composed primarily of students from Garfield High School in Seattle. Its goal, to refurbish donated computers and deliver them to people in places the technology isn't readily available. The list of countries the program has visited is long, and King County recently began donating some of its surplus PCs to the Academy.
It's broken.
The work may start in a Garfield High School classroom, but the product ends up several thousand miles away in places where it's needed. The work is that of students from Garfield High School involved in the Global Technology Academy program, which has been around since the mid-90s. King County recently got in on the giving by donating some of its surplus computers to GTA. The program has two main objectives: teaching students the skill of repairing computers.
I've learned a lot. I've learned how to network, I learned crimping, I learned how to fix a computer. Obviously, I didn't know that to do. When I came in here, I learned all the parts of the computer.
And providing computer technology to people in places it might not otherwise be available. Places like Bursa, Turkey. This is video shot by one of the students on that trip in the summer of 2006. A third objective, which may be more of an added benefit, is the unique experience students can absorb in different cultures.
We learned dances, we learned a lot about the food there. We ate like every 2 hours. And we just learned a lot about the people and their hospitality. How they're just so nice. Like, I mean, it was kind of weird when we first got there, but then it was better when we got to know each other. It was like we were actually a family. And I'm not just saying that to be corny or anything. It was like we were actually like a family.
This trip was more of, it was a mutual thing. It was like a barter system, you know. Not only did we go down there and teach them tech skills, but they opened up everything for us. We were treated like royalty down there, and it wasn't as if we were tourists, you know. Although our group, you know, our big group and whatnot, a lot of times I felt like I was just at home, like it was like family down there. Right. And so I guess that was like the most rewarding.
On top of Turkey, the list of countries the program has visited includes Tanzania, Guatemala, Philippines, Ghana, Nepal, Russia, India, Poland, Ethiopia, Mozambique, and Mexico. A typical project includes between 100 and 400 computers with between 15 and 35 students working on the project. As you might expect, students say their experiences have been irreplaceable.
We did a whole week where we actually taught the schools. We'd have like a whole bunch of schools from the neighborhood of Guatemala come in to a specific school, and we would give classes of like 50 students, and it'd be like just our team working with some of our brothers and sisters from Guatemala. It was a really nice experience. The people were really nice. They treated us really well, and it was just something that I don't think I'll ever forget.
Like now I'm trying to be more focused because a lot of the kids there, I learned that I had to walk at least 8 miles just to get to school, and I have a bus that takes me to school and I don't have to pay for school, so I really took a lot of things for granted before I went down there, so now I know. Be grateful for what I have.
Global Technology Academy has about 200 active members, and on top of Garfield High School, students from Roosevelt, Nova, Center School, and Skyline also take part. While on the trip, students set up the computers they work to refurbish and teach their hosts how to use them. Many of the students I spoke with at Garfield say they feel as though they took away more than they gave.
I don't know, it was a really good trip overall, but also just on a personal level, since I am African American, it was really nice just to see a lot of the dynamics that I can like trace back to what we do here and stuff like that, and then just also really emotional as well because a lot was like asked and expected of me, like from the people there. Right. So that was different as far as like a cultural shock.
And it felt good, you know, for me to be the majority when here in America that I'm the minority. And then it was also eye-opening that some of them didn't realize that there are black people in America. So we told them the story about slavery, and they were like so shocked. Well, why didn't you come home? And we told them that, well, we didn't know where home was, so they threw us a welcome back party.
I really liked it down there. It was something I could relate to. Like, I could talk to them and communicate them fluently because I spoke Spanish. And as also, I feel like I learned myself a lot. I got to teach some stuff that I had recently learned, which made me like captivate more of the knowledge that I got here from the classes. It was a really nice experience getting to like from installing all the labs.
People really need to get out of the country to really see how people live, because it's like you don't really know how good it is until you've gone. Right. You don't really appreciate how much we have now until you've gone and see what other people have and how they work with it. Like, you can see on TV what people have, but then you don't see how they work with what they have and make it a benefit.
The program is always looking for donations, whether you'd like to donate a computer or a little cash. And if you'd like to help out in any way, just contact Garfield High School. We switch gears to talk a little bit about King County International Airport, an airport that's made its mark on aviation history. Most of us have photo albums or small scrapbooks with descriptions about the past, but few people have likely taken it to the extent Del Bear has. He spent almost 30 years working at Boeing Field, and his scrapbook has just about every detail inside.
This is Jim Galvin and his wife, Marion.
There aren't likely many people out there who can tell you as much about King County International Airport as Del Bear can. Del turned 84 on April 30th. These days, he lives at the Greenbrier Apartments in Woodinville, and if he's forgotten anything about his nearly 30 years at the airport, all he's got to do is refer back to this notebook. It's a meticulous collection of pictures, names, and notes all about people he worked with from 1947 to 1974. It doesn't take long for Del to start telling stories of the people pictured in his notebook.
Clayton Scott. Clayton was the first man to fly solo across the Arctic Sea. And he was Boeing's chief test pilot for years and years. And he was Mr. Aviation, really, and a great personality.
Del is originally from Utah, but he says he grew tired of the harsh winters and moved out to the Pacific Northwest sometime after he graduated high school.
There's Gil Cook, who was one of the owners of Washington Aircraft.
He worked a few different jobs at KCIA. First, he was an aviation instrument technician, having received his training in the military.
This man started an instrument repair shop, and I went to work for him. And then I started my own, and these three people were my first employees.
Del also served in World War II, where he was stationed with the Navy in the South Pacific.
And everywhere I went in the Navy, I was given special privilege because I was a specialist, trained specialist, which were in short supply.
A year after the war ended, Del returned to Seattle in the mild climates he had fallen in love with before he left for the war. He went on to own this jewelry shop where President Truman stopped to have his watch repaired during a visit to Seattle. And finally, he owned an instrument company of his own.
This is Harold Hansen, and Harold was very much involved. He brought the first surplus de Havilland Beavers.
Del calls himself an amateur aviation historian, but with Seattle's rich aviation history, he would likely give the pros a run for their money.
George Westinghouse was the grandson of the George Westinghouse. And he brought me an altimeter that his father had brought home from France in World War I. This was a guy designing a helicopter that never quite got off the ground. This is West Coast Airlines' first jet-powered plane, jet prop, and Don Burkhart was the pilot.
Page after page of Del's notebook is filled with those faces and their stories. Take, for instance, Horace Pentecost. His hopicopter invention, a sort of personal helicopter, was completed in 1945, and, if you'll pardon the pun, never really got off the ground.
This was a man named Horace Pentecost, and he designed what he called a hopicopter. You work on your back.
One recurring theme as Del flips from page to page is that many of the people in his notebook have passed away.
This is Willie Willingham. He retired in his 60s. He's been an active pilot all that time. And he went deer hunting with a crew of his friends, and they lost him and never found him again. This was one of my best friends. He was an expert engine mechanic and rebuilt a million. He was killed in an accident on a trip that I was supposed to be on, and I had to cancel out the last minute.
In that way, Del's notebook not only reminds him of all the people he knew over the years at the airport, but also immortalizes all the memories he accumulated with them. Much time may have passed since Del's days at King County International Airport, but to him it seems like just yesterday.
This was Charlie Redmond. He was one of my closest friends, and this was a surplus patrol boat. And sold it to Caribbean Airlines.
And everything he experienced in almost 30 years at KCIA is never farther away than the turn of a page. Del plans to give the notebook to his children and says one day if his grandchildren ask what Grandpa was like, he hopes the pictures and narration inside will give them a good idea. We take another break right now, and when we return, it's a case of what goes down must come up. A look at how the county is able to recycle just about everything it picks up off the road. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Inside Transportation. Well, you've probably seen the street sweepers that keep King County roads clean, but did you ever wonder what happens to everything that gets picked up? It may surprise you to learn that about 97% of it is reusable. It's all part of 2 innovative recycling programs carried out by King County's Road Services Division. It's a case of what goes down must come up. King County crews are charged with the task of cleaning up just about anything that lands on county roads. But it's not as simple as just picking it up and throwing it out, at least not anymore.
We collect about somewhere in the neighborhood of 15,000 cubic yards a year of soil that we want to do something with in a responsible manner, and the way that we do it is we run it through what's called our swap program.
SWAP in this case refers to the County Road Services Division's Street Waste Alternative Program, which has been in full operation since 2003, and in that time has turned 97% of the material it removes from county roads into usable material for mine reclamations. In order to turn the waste into usable soil for reclamation projects, all litter and contaminants must be removed. For this task, the county uses some big machinery along with some microscopic allies. First, the litter needs to come out. The SWAP program picks up about 22,000 pounds a year from county roads.
So this is what comes out of the other end of the trommel. Anything that's not soil is basically solid waste or litter. And so about 3 to 5% of the material that we collect off the right-of-way and out of catch basins is the garbage that you see here. And it's just stuff that's been thrown out of people's cars and stuff like that.
Once all the litter has been removed, the job is handed over to a smaller set of workers. Bacteria and microorganisms that eat the gas and oil mixed in with material from roads, removing the contamination from the soil.
And then the soil is then moved into these bays where it's stockpiled and allowed to sit for, around 3 to 6 months. And there are bugs that naturally occur that like to eat the oil and the gas, and it naturally breaks down. And so we have a testing program where we sample the soils to determine if they've passed our internal protocols, and then we move it out into the berms.
Once the piles of soil have been tested enough to assure they're safe for the environment, they're moved out to this area, large piles of dirt called berms.
Vegetation just loves this. It has about a 4 to 8% organic content, which is just about what topsoil has. And as you can see, the vegetation grows quite thoroughly. And we just keep on piling it down the line. And you'll see, as you look, that there's various stages of growth on this. Over time, what we'll do is, as the mining operations are done and we fill it, this stuff will be bulldozed over and used as topsoil.
Before the SWAP program was launched, the county spent between $550,000 and $730,000 a year to dispose of waste solids from its roads. SWAP has cut that number by about half, and now costs between $259,000 and $375,000, a savings of up to $500,000 a year. Along with SWAP, the county also has a CROW program. CROW stands for Consolidated Reduction of Waste.
Any soils that are generated from things like culvert replacements or shoulder pulls or landslides or stuff like that are brought in and placed in areas that have been mined out, for sand and gravel. We generate about, I think, 40,000 cubic yards a year of that type of material, and it's also sampled and tested for any contaminants that are in it, and so far we really haven't found any that are of concern. So once the material is brought in and properly compacted, what we'll do is we'll take the material from the SWAP program and lay it over as topsoil, and we've reclaimed the mining areas.
The CROW program is a little older, having been around since 1991. It not only saves the county the money it would spend disposing of the material, but saves the space in local landfills. It's also a way of finding at least a small silver lining to the dangerous winter storms that can wreak havoc on the Northwest.
Probably wondering what happened to all the wood from the storm that happened this winter. Well, you're looking at it. We reduce it all down to wood chips, and then we reuse the wood chips in our maintenance operations. So all those trees and stuff that you saw fall down are now in that pile. That's the other portion of the CROW program, is what do you do with the material that's generated during storm events, during landslides and that sort of thing. Also, what do you do with stuff that's illegally dumped in the right-of-way? Things like scrap metal and debris, tires, and stuff like that. That's all put through the recycling program here.
Even with the 97% efficiency of the CROW and SWAP programs, the county is still working toward a goal of zero waste by the year 2030, a goal to reach the point where even piles of trash can be converted into useful material. Well, that's all for this episode. Remember, you can watch anytime you want to on the web. Just visit metrokc.gov, click on Transportation Today, and then Inside Transportation. Also, please email us your questions or comments to kctv@metrokc.gov. I'm Matt Reichmann. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.